Okay, so we're doing a tail chop now. Ducati Monster S2R1000. I got past all the unbolting and unhooking the wires. So what you want to do first is you want to unhook the brake light wires and the turn signal wires, so when you take the fender off, you don't yank it out. So once you have all that unplugged, you go to the top and you unbolt the brake light from the back. Two bolts, four bolts, just like that. And then there's 4 bolts underneath the fender. Unbolt those, pull it right up. As you can see, we disconnected all the wires, so nothing gets pulled. Now, there's a lot of ways to chop the frame. The way I like to do it is with a pair of pipe cutters. These are available at any kind of hardware store. These are from Ace Hardware. They're $5.99. The reason I like using these, it doesn't scratch the paint. It cuts a perfectly straight line, and it cuts it even. One thing to keep in mind is when you're chopping the frame, you always want to start on the right side. Reason being, on the right side of the frame, you have the C-lock. And what happens is when you put the tool on there, you want to get it as close as you possibly can to that lock. Because if you put it on this side and you move it all the way to here, when you go to this side, it's going to be off center. So you don't want an angle, you want it to go straight across. That's why we start on this side. So once you have it lined up, and you want to try and get it as close as you possibly can to the C-lock, make sure it freely moves, go around once, tighten it down, and you just go around and around. It's a little bit more time consuming than using a sawzall or a hand saw or any other kind of saw, but it definitely looks better at the end. Okay, so we got one side of the frame cut, and it's approximately 6 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do is get the exact same measurement on the other side so it's perfectly even. So what you want to do is line up the cutting wheel at 6 1/4, just like so. This is going to give you a perfectly straight line, and when you cap off the frame, it'll be straight. Alright, so there it is. After about 20 minutes or so, we cut through both pipes, pieces of tubing. Nice clean cut, no damage to the paint. The other thing I like about cutting it with a pipe cutter is that it flares the inside of the tubing inward. So when you put the cap in it, it actually holds it a lot better. Less likely of it coming out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a bracket for the tail light and reconnect all the wires, and we should be done. So now we're going to use a pair of pin snips to cut along the line. I like using these because it gives you a more accurate cut. Doesn't make a lot of noise. Like so. The bottom we're not going to cut all the way across, obviously, because we're going to need little tabs to mount it to the bike. So what we're going to do is cut from here up like this and down for the light contacts. Okay, so now we're going to make a bracket that's going to mount to the back of the bike to mount the brake light. We have a piece of mouth steel. You can get anywhere, any kind of hardware store, home or Home Depot. What we did is we lined up the 2 studs coming out of the brake light, and we're going to put them through, hold it tight, and then we're going to mark it so we know where to cut it. All the way to the bottom. Now what you got to remember is on the back of the brake light you have the plug. So we're going to make room on the back of the bracket so we can plug them back in. So we're going to do that, is we're going to line up the bottom of the hole, or the bottom of the light, like so. And then we're going to draw a little square, approximately the size of the contacts. And then we're going to cut that out. And then extending from the bottom of this, you can probably go down about 2.5 inches. This is the part we're going to fabricate. Drill 2 holes here that we're going to mount to the frame. Okay, so we have our general shape of our bracket. This is obviously pretty rough, so we're going to have to clean it up. But I cut that little piece out there, and the reason I did that is if you notice the wires coming out of the top of the bike for the blinkers and the brakes comes between the frame and a piece of plastic. So when we slide this in, we're going to need to make room for that wire. So I cut a little piece out right there. And in order to clean it up, I like to use an air grinder. We just take out the sharp edges so it doesn't cut anything, shape it up. We're going to sand it down a little bit and paint it, and then we'll be ready to install. Alright, so here's our finished bracket. Just a rattle can spray paint so it doesn't rust. I bolted the brake light on. In this particular kit, this is a clear alternative LED integrated brake light and turn signal assembly. Basically, all it is it eliminates the turn signals. It's just a LED kit, very simple to install. You run the 2 signal wires and you reattach those. Very simple. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run the wires like so. Put our bolts in. And like I said, you want to run it through the plastic. Now before you tighten it down, make sure that the signal wires are not pinching. That's what we cut that little hole. Take a wrench. Tighten it down. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Then the wires just get reconnected like they were stock. We eliminate the license plate light because the brake light lens has it's clear underneath it. So the light will shine through onto the license plate. So we can just pretty much take the bulb out or snip the wires, whatever. Reconnect the turn signal wires. There's no ground needed in this particular kit, so we're just going to connect the power wire to each side and then reconnect the brake light assembly exactly the way it came off. So we're going to do that in a minute, but make sure, put the seat on first, make sure it's level and even. There it is. Perfectly straight, perfectly even. And this gentleman that owns this motorcycle is an airline pilot. You know how anal those guys are, so I want to make sure it's perfectly straight. And from the way I'm looking at it, it is. So I hope he'll be happy with that.